I have a bit of a unusual skill. I can fall asleep basically anywhere at any time for any reason. Chairs, floors, airplanes, trains, sometimes in positions that probably shouldn't even qualify as a position to sleep in. And people always ask me the same question. How? How do you fall asleep like that? How do you feel safe enough to just shut down in the middle of everything? And I always give them, well, the simplest answer I know. If I'm tired, I sleep, and if I'm not, I don't. The truth is probably not that simple, because sleeping anywhere isn't really about just being tired. It's about training your brain to feel safe. I kind of remember where it started. You see, growing up, my dad had this habit of falling asleep basically right in the middle of the living room. Noise everywhere. There's four kids in the house, two dogs, probably a neighbor kid, something. People talking, life happening all around him. And I remember once asking him, how do you do that? And he said something I didn't fully understand at the time. This is one of the safest places I know. Everyone I love is here and around me. And the idea kind of stuck with me. Somewhere along the way, I started practicing it. Not intentionally at first, but consistently. I would try to fall asleep in safe places or make my brain believe it was a safe place to fall asleep, letting my guard down just a little and teaching my brain, you're okay, you can rest. And over time, something interesting happened. That small, almost silly skill, it grew. What started as a falling asleep on the living room floor turned into falling asleep on airplanes or long train rides in unfamiliar places, usually far from home. And one day I realized this random skill I picked up as a kid was now one of the most useful tools I had in my travel bag. But here's the part that actually matters. I didn't learn it when I needed it. I learned it long, long before, in small, safe moments. And that's when it clicked for me. And this really isn't a story about sleep. It's a story about how we learn almost anything. Because most of the skills that change our lives, they don't come from big, dramatic moments. They come from small, consistent practice in environments that feel safe enough to try. We tend to think growth happens when we're thrown into the deep end. But more often than not, growth starts in the shallow water, where you can stand up, where you can mess up, where your brain doesn't feel overwhelmed. And then, little by little, you stretch that boundary line. You build confidence, you build familiarity, you build trust with yourself. Until one day you're doing something in a completely different environment and it feels almost natural. Not because it's easy, but because you've trained for it. And here's where this really applies to you. There's probably something in your life right now, a skill, a habit, a mindset, something that you think this would be nice to have. It's not urgent, it's not critical, it's just useful. And because it's not urgent, you don't always think to practice it. But what if that small skill is actually preparing you for something much bigger down the line? Something you can't see yet. Because I had no idea as a kid lying on the living room floor that one day I'd be halfway across the world, extremely grateful that I could fall asleep on a moving train. But I was ready for it anyways, because I'd practiced. So here's my challenge to you. What's your version of falling asleep anywhere? What's something small, maybe even a little weird, that would make your life easier, better, more flexible? And more importantly, where can you start practicing it safely? Because you don't need to master it today. You just need to begin in a space where it's okay to fail, where it's okay to be uncomfortable, and where your brain can learn slowly it's safe to try. Because over time, those small, quiet repetitions turn into something much more powerful, something reliable, something you didn't even realize you need until the moment you do. And when that moment comes, well, you'll be ready.